That's weird. I can't even see it. Oh, wait, what? Sorry, chatters. We're just figuring out where some of these things are. Oh, cool. Asmongold made a video about me. I don't care, dude. I bet that he, like, said some weird shit, said he was a millionaire and he doesn't have to give a crap. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll react to it. Al Jazeera is not the worst. It definitely has an anti-Israel bias, but it's also like, you know, when the rest of media coming out of America has a pretty pro-Israel bias, what are you gonna do? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, okay, we'll watch the Asmongold video. First, how's chat looking on your end? Is it actually showing up? Because I'm not seeing it on my end, so I need like real-time feedback. Also, chatter and TikTok, your name I think is absolutely hilarious. Okay. Oh, look at that. It's my name. Front and center, and the title is TikToks Lost Their Minds. I'm sure that the man who wipes blood on his walls has got a very level-headed take on what I had to say. Let's see what he says. Also, I'm gonna change chat back to the old way. We're gonna silence that and we'll bring up regular chat right here. Okay, let's see how this sounds.
TikTok influencer responds to Asmongold. Okay, good. Here we go.
Popular Twitch streamer Asmongold.
Okay, right off the bat, I am not an influencer. I am a dude who posts on TikTok. This is not my job.
Gold tweeted out, "You're not protesting for Palestine by preventing some minimum wage worker from getting to work on time. Get out of the road."
Yes, I did
And
say
I
that.
might be making a mistake, but I'm going to engage with this in good faith. There
Okay.
are two significant layers to this issue. The first is the one that I'm sure Asmongold has already had yelled at him plenty of times, which is that protests are supposed to be disruptive. That's their entire point. Asmongold being
Yeah, they can be disruptive, but they can't break the law, because if you...
Dumb as shit, right off the bat. Protests always have to break the law. Asmongold, like, from the jump, just illustrates that he just doesn't want to give a crap. Okay? It's fine if you don't want to give a shit. Just say you don't want to give a shit. Stop adding to the discourse.
use the argumentation that anything that's... So if the rationale is that anything that you do in a protest, in the process of being disruptive, is okay, well then why can't we just burn down your house? Why not? It's disruptive. Why not? There's no logic or reason to it. And nobody actually believes this. And this is the problem.
Okay, but that's not disruptive, though. Asmongold just doesn't fundamentally understand how the economy works on, like, a macro level if this is, like, a genuine argument he's making. And it's extremely frustrating that I open this video saying that I'm going to engage with him in good faith, and his first go-to thing is, oh, well, why can't protesters just burn down your house? That is such a bad faith engagement right off the cuff.
That you're standing on a platitude that can't be applied to any other situation other than the situations that you explicitly are okay with in these tiny little narrow lines of thinking. And this is what I was saying before.
Tiny little narrow lines of thinking, but obviously he can say, oh, we can just burn down your house, as though that's not a narrow line of thinking.
Or right about how a lot of people's reasoning and rationales for things are completely self-referential. There's no actual principle to this. This is a conclusion that was then worked backwards to create a justification for it. Logic and reasoning that cannot be applied to any other situation other than itself is almost always bad logic and bad reasoning. And this is, I think, a great example of that.
Asmongold,
I will have you note that he has provided zero logic or reasoning. He has just simply said, hey, if protesters can disrupt systems of economics, then they can burn down your house. Which is not a disruptive act. There is nothing revolutionary about burning down random people's houses. There is nothing disruptive about burning down people's houses. Asmongold just fundamentally does not understand that, so he just obviously bad faith arguments it.
being a good old Texan boy,
it.
I'm sure would agree that if somebody read about the Boston Tea Party and went, "Oh my, I don't see how throwing tea in the harbor and damaging the product of a private company is going to help the colonials fight against the crown," he would think they're kind of silly. But the second layer of this is...
Okay. So, the Boston Tea Party. Number one, you're not a revolutionary fighter. You're standing in the road.
Okay, so this is him doing a Mott and Bailey argument, just calling that out there. On one hand, he's arguing against protesters who are actively trying to change the system, but then when you actually show him what revolutionary action does look like, all of a sudden those protesters who are participating in revolutionary action are not actually participating in the revolutionary action. They are just standing in the middle of the road. Whatever.
Like, let's just dial this down. Number two, they had no representation. The truth is that here in America, you do have representation. You can vote. You couldn't vote King George out of England.
Okay, yes, we can vote. And how are you going to convince voters to be on your side? By being disruptive. I hate it when they do this stupid fucking lib shit and they're like, oh no, think of the optics. Like, no, dude. Okay, I'm sorry. If you have hated everything going on in America for the last 10 years and you're sitting at home critiquing videos for a living, earning families worth of income in like a single day, you can't then turn around and criticize people who are actually trying to change shit. This is like the fundamental problem with Asmongold as a whole. He thinks that he can just like speak for the working class person when the dude, he's like so out of touch being a millionaire. He doesn't even actually go to work. Like,
and I understand that some people might not like the fact that our government works the way that it does. However, you do have the option to vote for candidates that will push issues that you like. You cannot compare.
But we don't. That's part of the problem. There is zero presidential candidate right now who will actually help the Palestinian people. So like, he's just, once again, just backing up and saying, oh no, I'm just going to be the ultimate liberal right now. We don't have an option to vote for a candidate who will do what we like. The whole point of people voting for Biden in 2020 is that he was supposed to be the guy that we could move, that could be the guy that did the things that we liked. He said that he would not gas protesters, and look at what's happening on university campuses right now.
The way to protest in a monarchy to the way to protest in a democratic republic. These are two completely different things. The reason why the Boston Tea Party happened is because you couldn't vote against it. There was no option to vote.
And you can't vote against aid for Israel, Asmon. We don't have those votes. If they put it on a referendum, a national referendum, then it would not pass. That's the problem.
We have the option to vote. We have the option to change politics as a reflection of the community, of society.
I'm not gonna.
Imagine if every single time that a person lost a vote, they rioted. They decided to burn everything down. Nothing would work.
Once again, not exactly what I said. Yes, I only have 8 views, and Asmon responded to me, so, like, guess what? I'm kind of on the up. That's my W.
Let's keep going.
This is what the protesters are actually protesting, which is our tax dollars going to fund the side comma Jenny of the Palestinian people.
I think it depends, right? So, like, you have a lot of the protesters who are very active in, like, colleges, and that's because they want the colleges to divest from things that are beneficial to Israel. But we could be talking about, like, two different types of protests. So, yeah, but this is also another factor. He's right about this.
For any disruption to the economy at large does, in fact, help support the Palestinian people.
Then go burn down a Walmart.
I mean, I agree with that point. Genuinely, I do.
Then go on a shooting rampage.
I don't agree with that part.
Then burn down people's houses. If the argument...
See, once again, he's doing the, like, oh, I'm just gonna bad faith say that you can do any crime. You can just go ahead and commit widespread violence, which is not what we are saying.
The argumentation is that any disruption to the economy is good because it supports the Palestinian people. Well, then just go blow up a building. See, and this is the thing.
Once again, just, hi, Sonny. Good to see you again. You being in the road is a crime. Yeah, dude, crime is a fluid concept, you moron. That's why tax evasion is a crime, and so is murder. But tax evasion is not the same as murder, you dumbass.
Is that if you use this logic in any other situation, it immediately sounds like you are an insane person, needs to be investigated by the FBI. You immediately sound like a terrorist. I'm sorry.
I mean, yes. I thought Asmon was supposed to be like some libertarian guy, and he's sitting here being like, oh no, we must abide by every single law that the government gives us, otherwise you have to burn people's houses down. Like, what is this? He's just like hands off, being like, no, I don't care about anything. I don't want anything to change. Your life sucks. Palestinians' life sucks. And guess what? If you try to change it, I hate you. That is what Asmon is saying right now.
But this is another great example of people using self-referential argumentation. They are deciding...
It's literally not.
...what they believe is right, and then they are justifying it. I don't think...
We're just going to continue.
I think these protesters will advocate that behavior. What about other protesters that do?
Okay! What about fucking elephants that fly? You can't just... His entire argumentation is based on hypotheticals. Like, what is this? He's sitting there being like, you can't apply this logic, and then he goes on to be like, well, what if some protesters do decide to burn down random people's houses? Then you deal with that when it comes up. This whole idea that logic has to be consistently applied across every single situation is just fundamentally not how the real world works. Asmon would know that if he ever left his fucking house. But he doesn't. Or he does, but he's just being bad faith about it because he's trying to come off as a reasonable person when he is not.
What about other ones that have a different viewpoint on it? So people are bad for taking the least disruptive method of protesting? But it's not the least disruptive method. Whataboutism, though? No, it's not. How is this a whataboutism?
How? He said, what about if people decide to take this argumentation and then burn down a house, and not 30 seconds later is saying, how is this not a whataboutism? It's not a hypothetical when bad protesters ruin it for the bunch. Dude, I hate to break it to you, but protesters don't ruin it for other protesters. People's reactions ruin it for protesters. And like, if you're all lived up, you put the blame on protesters for the consequences you suffer due to the actions of people in power.
The outliers don't make the majority, though. How many people do you need for it to be a huge problem? You don't need a majority of people to have people that think that destroying anything that they possibly can is going to damage the economy and therefore support Palestine.
No, but if you're opposing a political movement, a protest, all on the grounds of something happening, then at the very least that thing happening should be the plurality of what is happening. And it's not. And that's once again why Asmon is just being completely bad faith with this.
How many of those people do you need for it to be a huge problem? And this is the point that I'm making with like people that use this type of thinking, is that if you apply this thinking to another situation, it doesn't work. It only works in this narrow thing under their value system. The ends justify the means to these people? Yeah, but they don't, though. Because if somebody did something worse, they would be acting like it was bad. Because there's no clear and acceptable line. Because once you allow people to create their own subjective judgments of what is and is not acceptable, you invite chaos into everything.
So his argument here is basically, I'm just going to say these people are saying something, and then I'm going to argue against it. Notice that I have not said any of that. But he just said, oh no, he's definitely going to do that because he is approaching in bad faith. This is why nobody wants to fucking engage with Asmongold outside of his weird fucking audience. Because I literally sat there and I was like, I'm going to try to be good faith about this. I'm going to try have a good faith discussion with Asmongold. And he turns around and he goes, oh, well, this guy is then going to defend burning down houses. So obviously that means that I can just ignore anything else that he says. And I'm just going to assume that that's actually the stance he's taking, which is not true.
The reason why we have, and there is a line, it's called the law. You have to follow the law. That's what's been agreed on collectively by society. So whenever you
okay, so Asmon, if the law said that, you know what, never mind, this is a dumb hypothetical. Asmongold doesn't even believe that you need to follow the law, alright? That's why if somebody were to, I don't know, ban guns, he would lose his shit. Like, he doesn't believe that. Nobody believes that. You just said he hated people that disagrees with him, which he never did. You're a hypocrite? Dog, he's literally made a 20-minute video, bad faith arguing against something I never said, and, like, yes, you don't make a 20-minute video arguing against something that somebody else never said if you don't hate other people. Like, I'm sorry, this is like...
decide my problem is so important that I have the moral mandate to ignore the law, and then you destroy property and you break the law.
See, once again, he started at a point and then he starts jumping. He assumes that there is logical consistency in ethics, which is just not true. He would know that if he took an ethics course, but, you know, it's Asmongold. He spent all his youth playing World of Warcraft.
You can't go and get mad at somebody else.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I spent all my youth playing World of Warcraft, so...
else for doing the same thing and say, oh, well, that's too far. Well, what if other people... What happened whenever the people said that what you were doing was too far? It's, again, people have no sense of rationality here.
Dog, there is no moral consistency in the realm of, like, political movements, alright? When did this video come out? Let's see, 1 hour ago.
Gold used to work for the IRS, so I'm sure he is fully aware that taxes are generated.
I'm not gonna lie though, okay? I'm gonna pause real quick. Despite the fact that I really do not like Asmongold in this moment, the fact that he used to work for the FBI, or not the FBI, the IRS, I do think that is objectively hilarious, a little bit metal. It's kind of like just a great little detail. And, like, the amount of people that were like, he used to work for the FBI? Hilarious. Because, like, look at him.
Generated by any transaction. When you're buying a coffee that was produced by a minimum wage worker, you're paying a tax.
Well, why not kill the worker and burn down the coffee shop?
Because we are trying to help the worker too, Asmongold. If you sat through and listened and thought critically, you would understand that. Once again, he is being so bad faith about this. I say, hey, why would you help? Why don't you just stop buying from corporations? And he's like, oh, so then obviously you want workers to be homeless. No, that's not what people are saying. If somebody said, hey, we need to boycott McDonald's, would Asmongold immediately jump to being like, oh, why do you hate every single McDonald's worker and want them to be homeless on the streets without any access to housing? No, because he understands how absolutely ridiculous that would be. You express a sentiment and you tackle that sentiment. Like, what kind of arguments is he making? I'll upload a video later. Yes, dude, I'm angry.
Why not do that? No argumentation. It's against the law?
Literally, there is an argumentation.
Oh! Wait. It's against the law? That's crazy. Husband doesn't understand the politics of the topic. Okay. Explain it. Explain how this argumentation doesn't work. Go ahead. Also, like, some random person who's protesting doesn't have the, yes, the street is getting stupid, boycotting and divesting, and apartheid genocidal government is not.
Okay. Hey, welcome to the education corner. And one sec. And he is actually saying what would happen if you shut down McDonald's. Dog, McDonald's isn't gonna burn down when you shut it down. I don't know. Whatever, we'll deal with that. Welcome to the education corner, alright? So, before there was the Constitution, there were a whole bunch of philosophers, alright? One of them came up with something called the social contract, right? And this is a concept within philosophy that basically states that the whole purpose of us forming a society is for mutual aid. And when that stops, when the aid stops being mutual, when all of a sudden the fabric of society starts collapsing, when the social contract is broken, that's when you introduce disorder. And until it is repaired, the disorder continues and magnifies. Though disorder has not been repaired, so therefore it will continue to produce and magnify. Asmongold doesn't understand this because, once again, he never actually went to school to learn about it, but he's insisting on commenting on it.
Okay, yes, getting in the street is stupid. Okay, so I don't understand. Like, that's literally what I said. Anyway, this is taking too long. I'm going to go ahead and just time this guy out. We're going to move on, okay?
When that worker gets paid, the company pays a tax. When somebody has to buy gas to drive to work...
Well, why don't you just rob people then? Why don't you rob people and...
I mean, first of all, the IRS asks that you put what you steal from other people on your taxes, which, while hilarious and dumb, kind of means that this already is just him knee-jerk reacting to an argument. He has yet to actually, like, say anything. He has done nothing but just bad faith be like, oh, well then why don't you burn houses down? Why don't you kill people? Dog, we're just stopping traffic. Like, actually, not even we. I'm not going to act like I'm part of the group. I'm not going to co-opt other revolutionaries' actions, right? But, like, they're just stopping traffic. Asmongold doesn't even leave his house, and he's sitting here, like, pretending that he's somehow going to be impacted by it.
Then set all the money on fire. Because, like,
if
money is the issue, right, or burn down a bank. Because this is the logical conclusion of this thinking.
Dog, Asmongold doesn't even understand the implications of what happened when we came off the gold standard. He says, why don't you burn down a bank? Because they can just make more money. That's all that it is now. Money is a completely fluid concept. You can burn down all the banks in the world and America won't lose a single dollar.
And I want to say that this is...
Specifically, the American government won't lose a single dollar. I know some of the weird debate bros are going to, like, get on that.
Not a straw man. This is an application of their logic applied in a...
Once again, logic is not consistent through ethics. Logic is a school. Like, logically applying holistically to a world is a school of ethics, but it is not consistent through ethics. Ethics does not rely on logic. Ethics relies on morality, and those are different things.
A more extreme way than they are applying it themselves. And if you look at history...
And that's also important because the law is also based on ethics and morality, not necessarily logic. That's why, if we want to solve world hunger, we try our best to find ways to feed hungry people. We don't just burn all the hungry people. That's the logical solution. Dumbass.
And especially if you look at the history of terrorism, you will see that there are a lot of people that don't think it's as crazy as a lot of you guys do. And they did it. The Unabomber. Think about that.
Hell yeah, the Unabomber. Think about that. Like, what the hell? Dog, not even close to the point he is making. Bro, he's not making any points. He's literally just, like, making up arguments that he's, like, heard on Twitter and projecting them onto me. He's doing the single most bad faith thing. I can't believe I gave this guy any level of good faith.
They are paying a tax. If it's still not clear, allow me to put it in World of Warcraft terms.
Okay, this is the part
Imagine if you had two raiding guilds, one horde, one alliance, both competing for the server-first mythic raid clear. Now, it gets discovered that if every single ranged DPS uses a very specific potion, it will increase their damage output against a specific boss by 5% for each character, cutting 10 minutes off of their raid time.
That's good.
And one of the critical ingredients for this potion is the herb Bruiseweed. Now imagine that the Alliance Guild has all of their non-core raiding members go throughout
This is complicated. Now I've got to fucking think this out. Okay.
This is not complicated, Asmon, please.
All right.
Map and not only harvest all of the bruiseweed they can find, but also actively start griefing any horde players who are also trying to harvest bruiseweed.
I'm sure there's a fucking wasp in my house. How the fuck did a wasp get in my house? God damn it. Fuck. Sorry, I apologize. I just... Again,
Asmon, you have to know how
I actually
a wasp
really don't like wasps. Let's get back to it.
Raiding members go throughout the map and not only harvest all of the bruiseweed they can find, but also actively start griefing any horde players who are also trying to harvest bruiseweed. I'm sure in this hypothetical situation, if Asmongold then went on the World of Warcraft forums and saw all of the Horde players demanding that the Alliance players be punished because they are disrupting their supply lines for this potion that ultimately gives them a leg up in the race to server first for the Mythic Raid completion, Asmon would tell the Horde players to stop bitching. Because that's the game, baby. They're just disrupting the supply lines of the Horde.
Well, it depends on how they're doing it. So this is actually a terrible analogy in like 3 different ways. So the first way, it's a terrible analogy.
Okay, let's get ready to examine how Asmongold doesn't know how to do an analogy.
Is that griefing is against the terms of service, and if you're doing it in a way that breaks the rules of the game, then you absolutely can get banned. It's not even a question.
This is a reminder, Asmongold himself has griefed many times. He talks about it, so obviously he understands how people don't actually care about the rules of service.
Or
in this case, the law.
Or 2, I would not be happy about the Alliance players doing it. I would be angry at the developer for allowing.
That is bullshit, and anybody who knows a single person who played World of Warcraft before 2014 knows that he is lying.
Allowing it to happen. That's number 2. And number 3, the Horde players don't have their livelihoods relying on getting a Mythic server first kill. Like, if they don't kill whatever the new...
Wait, I was reading a comment. What did you just say?
That's number 2. And number 3, the Horde players don't have their livelihoods relying on getting a Mythic server first kill.
Dude, okay, show me one person who's actually been fired. Asmongold is trying to die on this hill, acting like he is this, like, working class hero, but I guarantee, if you look back, he has zero fucking sympathy for people who lose their jobs every fucking day. People lose their livelihoods being late to work every fucking day when there are no protesters getting in their way. And guess what? Asmongold would probably tell them that they need to get their shit together. In fact, you know what? No, we're not going to look it up, but I have a feeling Asmongold probably reacted to the time blindness girl, and he probably told her to shut the fuck up and just do her job. Because Asmon doesn't care about this stuff, dude. My issue is that I am consistent. When somebody loses access to their livelihood because of a protest, I still care about that. I recognize that. I just think that people who are dying in a genocide kind of take priority when it comes to what I have to care about. But then when I move to an everyday situation and somebody still is losing their life because they are late, I'm still mad about that because that's how our entire economy is structured, and I still hate the people who lobby our government to structure the economy that way. Asmongold doesn't get that because Asmongold is not being genuine in his beliefs here. Asmongold does not give a shit when poor people lose their jobs. Asmongold just hates seeing protesters.
Like, if they don't kill whatever the new raid boss is, Ragnaros, first on the server.
Talking about protesters but not reacting to random unexpected layoffs by companies like Tesla. Bro, I will talk about layoffs if you want me to. Hell, do you think they're unrelated? Who do you think is benefiting from this genocide? The exact same CEOs who fucking are laying off the workers right now. They're the same people. The whole thing is so disingenuous. You can't sit there and say, oh, I care about the workers who are losing their livelihoods because protesters are getting in the way, which already, oh, yes, thank you. Yes, Asmongold does not give a shit about layoffs. Hell, Asmongold would probably lay off one of his own workers. Dude, you're joining the stream halfway through and you're asking, what am I even saying?
They don't... Their family doesn't starve. Like, these are, like, they're...
Once again, where's this energy? Where's this concern every day when this is happening without the protests? Where is this energy when people's families are starving and no protest was happening? They just got fired because their boss was a dickhead. Asmongold does not give a shit about those situations. He is pretending to care. He is pretending because he is doing partisan politics and then stepping back and saying, I don't do politics. Bro needs a tissue. He's crying and raging and using ad hominem attacks like he fire his workers. Bro, that's not an ad hominem attack. He is a capitalist. He owns a corporation. You just don't understand your position in the system.
Not like if they kill that boss, it's not like they get to go to the hospital and finally have, like, you know, their broken leg looked at. So the severity is totally different. And also, even
once again, protest organizers will always work their hardest. I have made this point in every comment. Protest organizers will work their hardest to ensure that emergency vehicles have a way through. I have attended one of these protests. They let people trying to go to the hospital go through.
And inside that argumentation, griefing has never been okay. And there have actually been a lot of instances of people that were griefing that got punished for it, even whenever they were doing it in a competitive way. So, like, this line of law.
Once again, Asmongold has regularly on record cheered on griefers. He thinks it's awesome. He loves it. He's being disingenuous here. You haven't touched on the point that standing on the road doesn't help the cause. It does.
Logic is wrong.
Like, here's the thing, chatter, right? Like, if you're concerned... Wait, not always true. Plenty of videos showing the opposite in many protests. Dude, link me one. Even when I'm doing research for it, I found one article about a ambulance in Seattle. And, like, even then, that's a mistake. And these protests are not all organized by the same people. And you can't just dismiss an entire civil rights movement based on the actions of singular individuals when none of them are coordinating, okay? Bosses firing people randomly is unlucky, but people actively stopping traffic isn't there any diss. Bosses aren't firing random people. Like, what world are you living in? Bosses will fire people regularly for showing up late. That's just the reality that we live in. I know Asmon's forgot this because he hasn't worked a real job in like 5 years. But, like, yeah, you show up late sometimes, your boss just fires you. The difference between me and Asmon is that I'm still mad about it when there's not a protest going on. Asmon, on the other hand, is just conveniently laying at the feet of the protesters.
Whenever it's applied to real life, and it's also wrong even inside of the...
I genuinely don't care what's going on in the Middle East. I have rent due, move out of the way. Hey, bud, you have rent due because we don't have accessible housing. We don't have accessible housing because a bunch of billionaires and millionaires lobby our government to prevent it from being built. Those same millionaires and billionaires are also lobbying our government to encourage what's happening in the Middle East right now. So you should care about what's happening in the Middle East, or you wouldn't have to pay rent. Do you know how many good faith arguments Asmongold has heard? What makes you different? You're right. I did make a mistake. I should not have been good faith with Asmongold. He is very clearly not interested. Why would Asmon care about people being late at their own fault? Chatter. That's the point. Asmongold doesn't care about people. He is just trying to make people hate the protests right now because he thinks they're woke and weird, and he is doing blatantly partisan politics while trying to appear like he's being objective. Except that's the every day. Example, the cops. People hate on the cops for the fault of a few. Brother, people... Do you think 40% of cops... I'm just going to tell you to Google 40% of cops and understand that's not a few. Most companies have attendance policies. That's not good. Dog, you're missing the point, okay? A company's attendance policy, first of all, yes, it's not good. You shouldn't be able to own someone's life to the degree that if they don't show up enough times, you can just ruin it. That's ridiculous. But even then, the larger picture is that the whole reason that people even have to care about those attendance policies is because the things they need to live are actively withheld from them, also that they will then work for these corporations. We're getting back to the video. I'm ignoring chat.
Context of the game.
I have to go back because I paused it 3 times.
For it, even whenever they were doing it in a competitive way. So this line of logic is wrong whenever it's applied to real life, and it's also wrong even inside of the context of the game.
He doesn't believe that. He has a long record saying that. He doesn't believe that.
This is crazy.
To make it easier for the side that they support to get a leg up.
Yeah, and again, also another factor here is that, so you're saying that the Horde players are the minimum wage workers that are trying to get to their work? I mean, no, that's not the way it works at all. I wonder what people think.
Yes, literally the Horde players are sitting there trying to collect bruiseweed in this analogy so they can go sell it on the auction house. And Asmongold hasn't even played the fucking game in 2 years. He's forgotten how it works.
Think about this tweet, or this post here. Bastard wants Asmon to give him views? Oh, it's fine. That's fine. I'm getting views out of it too.
Yes, we are mutuals. Thank you, Asmon.
Yeah, I'm not mad. This person wasn't rude to me. I disagree with him. I think that he's wrong. But no, there's nothing, he didn't say anything wrong. This is fine. Asmon Concretches, not Asmongold is probably pro-Israeli. Why would I be pro-Israeli? Asmon is right.
Hold up. Okay, when I work day shift at a fast food restaurant and the late shift comes late, I care, LOL. Hey, dude, I hate to break it to you, but these protests were held during times, they started at 10 a.m. and they ended, I believe, most of them around 4 p.m. Your night shift wasn't late. If your night shift was late, please tell me. But I'm going to assume that you don't even have any actual content, so it's kind of hard to believe you. These protests weren't even that disruptive to the actual macroeconomy. That's the most annoying part. Is they were just disruptive to the fucking travel economy. They started after everyone got to work.
Right, worked at the IRS. Also, the analogy was quality. Is anybody calling this at all? This is sad, guys. The analogy was kind of condescending. Oh, that's no problem to me. It just doesn't work, though. Yeah, it's just not a good analogy if you... It's not a good analogy if you think about it. It's really not.
Once again, Asmongold does not actually understand how an analogy even works. He seems to think that an analogy needs to be a one-to-one comparison as opposed to a metaphor that you use to draw parallels to express an idea, right? An analogy does not need to work perfectly one-to-one. Even then, my analogy is still better than he wants to admit. He's just kind of being sore about it. No content equals no point. No content means that I don't care. You're not a real person. I'm sorry. There are 40% of the internet. There's 40% of the internet that is just bots nowadays. All right. You have to put a face if you want your testimony to be credible. But also, chatter, did you have people show up late to your job? Did you? Because so far, every single person I've seen who has been concerned trolling about these protests, They have not actually had any impact. They are all talking about hypothetical maybes. I have not seen anyone actually say, I got fired from my job, unless it was like a random anime profile.
Wrong comment got deleted. Yeah, exactly. One guy said, no, it's not. Yeah, I mean, the problem is we care more about other countries. We care about our own people. The same people benefiting from oppression, also same people oppressing Americans. So the solution is to naturally, right? Naturally stand in the road.
Yes. You can't just say things condescendingly and then think that's an argument. So you have to be an influencer to have a point, LFMO? No, bro, but you have to, like, prove that you're at least somewhat of a real person. You have to prove that you're not just, like, a faceless being online, okay? Sorry, that's the rules. We don't want to implement any sort of, like, actual regulation on the internet that helps us track and discard bots. Then, yeah, you have to start proving you're a real person. That's it. That's the compromise. Like, of course, random person that was late to work probably isn't on TikTok. Okay, but can anybody find me any single example of this? Like, anybody. Because that's my point, right? It doesn't have to be on TikTok. It can be on Facebook. It can be on Twitter. But, like, if somebody was fired simply because the protests made them late, then, like, that is absolutely insane. No one did that. Even if someone was fired because they were late due to the protests, it's probably because they have a much longer history of being late. And even then, it is the bosses who are deciding that they have to be fired, all because the bosses want to maximize the productivity that they can extract from their worker. And a late worker is a less optimized worker. Can you see my badge? Dog, I don't know what the fuck the badges mean, okay? Like, is that, like, this, I've streamed, what, 5 days? And I already, like, have Asmongold reacting to me. And on top of that, like, even then, you haven't actually, like, addressed the point, which is, was your coworker late to work? Were you held up because of these protests, or are you getting mad because of an imagined scenario that you thought up and you were like, oh, I would hate if that happened to me?
Those are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this. It's nuts, man. Let me see if there are any more of this. Problem is corporation manager doesn't care and fires a low-level worker. Please tag me on a video of someone being fired because of the protests. Fuck. Okay, so this isn't usually the way that getting fired works. So, and I don't know if every job is the same, right?
Oh, he's about to make my entire point.
Yeah, the Google employees are a good example, but I don't think that's really what he's saying. And I'm trying to approach this in good.
No, that is literally part of what I'm saying. The only people that we are seeing get fired because of these protests are people like the Google employees, people who are asking their companies to stop supporting this ongoing genocide. That's the overarching point. Asmon is concern trolling about people that he doesn't give a shit about over everyday life, and he is ignoring the and then when people are actually suffering the consequences he claims to be concerned about, he is ignoring them completely. He just hand waved away the Google employees, and he's like, oh no, but like, think about these other people that maybe might have been fired because of this protest.
Good faith, okay? I will try to approach this in good faith.
Okay, let's see.
So, usually whenever a person gets fired, they don't get fired for being late once.
Yes,
they get fired for a list of problems. And what you're doing is you're putting one more item on that list. So, if a person that already has had some issue happening, let's say they're having a performance problem at work, let's say they had a complaint against them by another employee, let's say all of these other things happened, this could tip it over the edge, or it could be used in conjunction with future things that tip a future firing over the edge. This is the way that everybody knows this, right? Everybody knows this is the way that jobs work.
And did the protesters fire that person in that situation, Asmon? Did the protesters go apply to the company, work their way up to become manager, sit down and tell that worker that they are fired? No. The protesters simply did one thing. And once again, you talk about the list of things, that list exists despite protests happening, but you don't seem to actually care about the fact that that list exists at all. Like, God. It's, you know what? He said he's going to be good faith. I'll keep listening to him.
You don't usually get fired for one thing. You get fired for a list of things that happen over time. Right. And also, it's not just people going to their job. It's people that want to go to a movie. They spent money on the movie, and now they...
Oh! I'm sorry! They wanted to watch a movie? I have a movie for you. Go look up hashtag Palestine. Go look up the hundreds of TikToks a day we see of people being blown up. There's a movie for you to watch, Asmon.
Can't see the movie because you decided that they can't see it? Why? Why not just go destroy the electrical outlets of the movie? Just go behind the movie theater, find out where all the electricity is and all the generators, and blow them up.
That would actually, like, low-key be pretty metal. But, like, even then, that's not where we want to be right now. That's the whole point. People are saying we are disrupting traffic because that's the most extreme protest that we want to participate in. They've tried protesting outside of politicians' houses. They've tried protesting outside of government buildings. They've tried protesting outside of arms dealers' office buildings, and nobody is listening to them. Nobody is budging on these issues, and so they go and they take to the streets. That's the whole point. Like, the whole point of these protests is them saying, please, don't make us be more extreme, just listen to us now. And Asmon is sitting there being like, no, I don't want to listen to you now. I don't want to listen to you now. I wasn't listening to you before, and when you go and you be more extreme, I'm not going to listen to you then, because I just don't want to listen to you. But he won't be that just honest with it.
Why not? There's no thinking here. And this is the problem, is that if you apply, and this is the thing, any time that you apply this reasoning to any other situation other than itself, it immediately sounds like you're a terrorist. Like, that sounds kind of...
Yes, the whole point of the classification of terrorists is to say that this is a person who is an enemy. Like, he doesn't even get it. How does this guy... You know what? Okay. The whole reason so many leftists don't like to use the word terrorist, like in the aftermath of January 6th, so many leftists, and not liberals, I mean actual leftists who organize things, they said don't call them terrorists because the label of terrorism is used to legally oppress a group of people. That's the whole point. You label someone a terrorist because you want to oppress them. These people are trying their hardest to still work within the system without committing acts of violence to still get concessions from our politicians, to still try and raise awareness for issues and get people to care about the inaction of these politicians. They are saying these politicians aren't doing anything, so this is going to have an impact on your life. And if you turn around and you just blame them empty-mindedly, I'm sorry, that's just like brain-dead liberalism. Dude is crying? Oh, dude, I'm weeping.
Problematic. Dude, where all these ideas come from? They come from a logical application of thinking to similar situations. That's where they come from. And I understand this might be upsetting, but that's where they're from. Protesters should suck dick for down about that. There are a lot of comments agreeing with you whenever I looked. They got deleted. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. 10 of 10, wow metaphor.
Just to address that, yeah, I started deleting comments because I blocked a commenter who was pretty defensive of Asmon because he started saying that basically that we needed to ethnically cleanse Palestine. And I do not support that. I'm not allowing that in my comment section, especially when, once again, it is a faceless anime profile. And that's something that I can guarantee even Asmon would agree with. When you have a faceless account coming in and saying the most deranged shit, you block them. Earlier in this video, he timed someone out for being annoying. Not when they are disrupting their day and they assumed good goals. Those people may have had those. What does that comment even mean, chatter?
It's a terrible metaphor. The company I hit with the T. Oh my god. Can't they let workers in but try to keep customers out? Okay, so you're not able to buy milk? Like, I love how none of it makes any sense. It's actually crazy how stupid it is. It's so dumb.
See, like, right there, though, like, you can't sit there and be like, oh, I don't even know what you're saying, chatter. You can't sit there and be like, oh, I'm going to be good faith, and then just go into this video being like, no, anybody who agrees with these protests are dumb. Asmon has not, from the jump, been open-minded to this conversation. He literally started it by saying, oh, if you protest in the roads, you're going to set stuff on fire, obviously. Why don't you just kill people? That's not good faith argumentation. He automatically, from minute one, started just being bad faith about it. And he gave me maybe 2 minutes of good faith. And then immediately went back to being bad faith and just being like, oh no, this is stupid, and because I don't understand it, it means you're dumb. Like, come on, Asmon.
Like, what is this? What do you have to show your ID to like a bunch of protesters? This is, it's like...
I will say, I do agree with his take that that particular comment, not a very well thought out comment. Like,
this is a 17-year-old revolutionary's logic, okay? And I get it. I was there too. I understand. But
you worked for the IRS. You were never there. You worked for the IRS, and then if I remember correctly, I watched a video about this, because I do research on the people that I'm, like, reacting to. I don't just pull up one singular video. Literally, if you had watched the next video, I expand on my argument. But if I remember about this, he worked for the IRS, and then I think it was Walmart or something, and then he just quit and started streaming while his parents covered all of his costs. Like, he was never there. I don't know what he's talking about.
But seeing it again is just really sad. Now, wouldn't you say taking the logic to an extreme without taking more morality into account might be a bit of a logical... Oh, let me read your comment. So I will... Let's address this. I'll try to address this in good faith. Wouldn't you say that taking the logic to the extreme without taking morality into account could be a bit of a logical fallacy? No, I don't think so, because everybody's morality is different. Like, for example, I think obstructing the road is immoral. I don't think you should be allowed to do that.
But genocide, chill. He doesn't care about
it. So, no, I don't think it's a logical fallacy. They might be too stupid to think of the indirect consequences, but these people seem to draw the line at vandalism and hurting people. Yeah, but BLM did. People in the BLM protest didn't.
Oh, he immediately pulled the BLM ripcord. Dog, come on. Get out of fucking 2020, dude. Like, the BLM protest has to be one of the most prime examples of how people were like, oh, liberal media always sides with left-leaning causes, while mainstream media, they literally held focus groups at Fox and CNN to see what slogans made black communities the least comfortable, and they found out, a lot of leftists don't like acknowledging this, they found out that the phrase defund the police was actually not very popular amongst a lot more inner city black communities. And what did they do? They blasted it out because they explicitly wanted those protests to lose support. That is like something that the mainstream media did. And Asmongold is probably somebody that would be like, oh, mainstream media got behind them uncritically, because he doesn't actually pay attention to what's going on. He just pops up, gives his opinion, no matter how uninformed it is, and then he just goes back to like sitting in his cave.
Didn't draw that line. So were they okay and these ones aren't? Because people use the same argumentation for that.
Okay, maybe I'll squat in your driveway as a form of protest. Bro, what are you protesting? Like, if you're protesting me getting, like, then yeah, go for it. I don't give a shit. Like, you're not gonna.
That too. Like, there's no, again, The problem whenever you create subjective lines is that nobody is required to follow them.
The entire law, every single law we have is constructed along subjective lines. His whole argument is that we can't break the law, which is entirely built upon subjective lines. There are very few laws that are based on objectivity. Once again, he's here sitting about, big brain logic, but he doesn't even have a consistent logical viewpoint in this video.
That's the difference between your subjective judgment and the law, is that everybody is required to follow the law, but not everybody is required to follow your subjective judgment. Also, I would assume that if there weren't more police there, these protests would probably get a lot worse.
Once again, this is something he's been doing a lot in this video. He just goes, I assume, I imagine, hypothetically, maybe, this thing that isn't happening, that's gonna be part of my argument. I'm such a logical thinker that, maybe something might possibly, hypothetically, in another reality happen, and we have to abide by that reality. Like, come on, dude. How are you gonna sit there? The dude said, logically, maybe 20,000 times in this video, and he's now sitting there being like, but maybe this other thing happened. Like, oh, God, it's so disingenuous.
So it's easy to say that this isn't happening, but, to be honest, I bet it probably would be if they were a lot bigger. Do you see my perspective here? BLM started off with a good message and then went to shit. I supported them. I completely, and I still do. I do. I think it's a huge problem. Police brutality is a massive issue. The only thing that I felt was disappointing with BLM is that it kind of, it relegated the issue of police brutality and police accountability to just being about black people.
That's not true. Once again, every single BLM, that's weird. My OBS just did a weird thing. Let me know if the stream is up. But once again, BLM, they host protests for white people who are killed by police too. Asmon doesn't pay attention to that because Asmon only pays attention to what he wants to reaffirm his own biases. But BLM, who's the guy who the police straight up just executed? I can never remember his name. It's not Aaron Bushnell. Who is a hero. Rest in peace. Everybody say his name. Aaron Bushnell. God, what was this guy's name? Oh, God. Apparently TikTok thinks that I'm inactive. There you go, chatters. Everybody's saying that I'm yelling. TikTok thinks I'm inactive. So, you're welcome. Daniel Shaver. Thank you. Yes, Daniel Shaver literally had an entire BLM protest hosted for him, and nobody gave a shit. Asmon probably doesn't even know that happened because they didn't have the narrative to be like, BLM only cares about black people. It's just not true.
I think that everybody's a victim of this, including you guys. All of you guys that are in America, you're all victims of it. Because whenever one stupid fucking cop does the wrong thing, and then he hits somebody or chokes them or hurts them or kills them, and then the company, or sorry, the family sues the fucking, the state, well, guess whose taxes pay for the fucking settlement? It's your fucking money. It's your money paid for some fucking moron to go and do this.
Now Asmon cares about where your taxes are going.
All victims, yes, we're victims of this. It's bad. Look at some of the cops in New York and how much money has been awarded to different civilians because of the way that these cops have acted. It's awful.
One sec. This chatter, same chatter. Wait, you stream on Twitch but care about profile pictures. That's crazy work. Dog, the whole point that I'm making is that if you are not an active person who's putting your presence online, you don't have to put your presence online. But if you don't want to put your presence online, you can't then lean back and demand that people abide by your personal experiences. Why don't you travel to Israel and protest there if you're that annoyed? Dog! That's not how protesting works. And also, I'm in the country that's dealing the weapons. I'm at the source. Why wouldn't I protest here? That's what I told him an hour ago. Yeah, dude, you're dumb too. I hate to break it to you, Levents.
Just look at your chat right now. Holy shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah. So Chatter says, why don't you go to Israel and protest there if you're that annoyed? Perfect response. How about you take a different road if you're that annoyed about the protests? Do you see how, like, reductive that is? Twitch stream is still up. Thank you. I appreciate it.
A lot of people, that's fair. Yeah, I get it, man. Yeah, for sure. And so this is the problem that people have, right? And I see these multimillionaire can't be dethroned, it doesn't matter, 5% DPS in raid. What happens whenever the worker loses their job, can't get another one? This is a problem with capitalism requiring you to work while you live, not a problem with the protests. That's like choking somebody and then saying it's not a problem that... It's not a problem with me choking you, it's a problem that you need oxygen.
Ugh. I'll get back to
like,
that.
what are you doing? You can't, stop choking people.
Okay, so once again, he's misascribing who is doing the action. He's saying protesters making someone late, and then that person getting fired by their boss is the same as protesters, or is the same as choking someone. Except the boss is the one choking the person in that situation. He won't admit that because he is a boss, but that is the actual one-to-one Mr. Oh, this is a bad analogy, can't even, like, do a proper metaphor. When an analogy is a metaphor wearing a simile's hat.
They actually believe that shit? No, they don't. And I want to make sure one thing is very clear. These people do not believe what they're saying. They do not believe it.
I absolutely believe what I am saying. And once again, Asmongold, 2 minutes of good faith. Everything else in this video has been completely bad faith.
They only believe it whenever it's beneficial.
You started this and you're getting worked up while Asmon is just chilling. Yeah, dude, because I give a shit. I hate to break it to you, but being, like, cold and detached from reality does not make you cool. Being Sasuke Uchiha does not make you cool. It makes people think that at best, you're kind of autistic, and at worst, you're a dickhead that no one wants to be around.
To them. The moment that somebody protests in a way that they disagree with for a cause that they don't agree with, they will be immediately crying and wanting to police to shut them down. Because this is not a principle. This is not...
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that Asmon I don't think he gets because he doesn't understand how anything works, is that I actually would respect somebody who protests for something that I disagree with more, and I'm not going to call the cops, I'm going to tell them to shut the fuck up. But I respect them more than somebody like Asmongold who's just going to sit there and be like, oh no, all protests are bad. Because at least that person is standing by something they believe in. And that's the biggest issue here, is that Asmund is sitting there, sitting at home, everybody hates what's happening in the country, and he's criticizing people who are doing something to change it. That is the biggest issue with this entire discourse. He is like, oh, I'm unhappy. I'm going to pay lip service to Palestinian people, but don't you dare try and make a change that I don't approve of. It is so, like, it's so ridiculous. Can't cuss on TikTok. God damn.
Not a value. This is not an ethic. It is simply a method of justifying aggression and breaking the law.
It is literally an ethical framework.
And that's all. People like to be mad at you for some reason. The reason why people like to be mad about me, I'll tell you why. Okay? I will explain why people don't like me.
I'm sure we're about to get a very deep inward look where Asmon reflects upon how he has interacted with the world and how he has insisted on being an internet celebrity, yet shirked all responsibility for doing so, seems to just want his entire role in the world to be sitting at home and giving the most watered-down, milquetoast, bad faith takes, and he will then take accountability for that, and surely he will be honest that is why people are upset with him. I'm sure he's not just gonna say, people are mad at me because I'm always right.
Number one, I generally talk in a very confident way. I talk in a way where I believe what I say, and that makes people mad. They hate it whenever somebody says something with any degree of confidence at all. Because they...
I'm gonna give it to Asmon. People do genuinely hate that. That's why I have some of his followers in my chat right now hating me for the exact same reason.
They disagree with it, and they don't like that. That's number one. Number two, I believe millions of years ago, I had ancestors that were marauders, raiders, and general psychos. And at that time, everybody learned that those...
Asmon! Your ancestors were the ones who barely survived the Black Plague, okay? Like, be so for fucking real right now.
Ancestors, the marauders, the ones that looked like me, you stay
the marauders looked like you? Asmon, please. Please, let's be adults in this room at the moment. I'm not going to be mean. But please. My single bicep is bigger than your entire... If you put both your arms together. Like...
fuck away from them. And if you see one of them, get him the fuck out of here. And so I think over millions of years of evolution, people have evolved to see me, my face, and have a fucking evolutionary holy shit. From like millions of years.
No, Chatter, you're right. Asmon is genuinely funny for that. That was I'm not gonna lie. It's harder to like stay mad at Asmon for this take because I can't tell if he's joking right now. And I'm gonna be good faith and say that he is.
Years ago, because my ancestors might have been marauders. I have never seen more people get mad just at the fact that I look the way that I do. I genuinely believe this. I do. Asmongold derangement syndrome, that's what it is.
Aww. Asmon's the victim, guys. People are just mad at him because he looks kind of funny. Even though he just said that people would see his ancestors and run. But you don't listen to that. You know, people are just mad at him for no reason because of how he looks. It's all because of that. It has nothing to do with his refusal to actually engage with like ideas and instead rely on his own personal logic that he finds comforting, not like any objective logic either, just his own personal one, and just argue from that point.
By your logic, then, the fat people were the lords that your ancestors attacked?
Okay, that's a funny way to end the clip. Dog, I don't know what else to say, okay? I clearly made a mistake trying to be good faith with Asmon. This was a 22-minute video. Oh my god, I've spoken about it for an hour. 22-minute video, and all I really got from it is that Asmon has no intention of having, like, actual, genuine, good faith discussion around this topic. He just wants you to ignore the fucking protesters. That's it, alright? What a way to close a video, baby! Yeah, that's content. You know what? Shout out to Asmon. He gave me content. I gave him content. Game, respect, game. Let's go back to focusing on people that matter. There are currently people in this country being arrested for protesting at universities. That whole thing that Asmongold, and you have been bad faith for the last 45 minutes. Dog, I gave him good faith to start, alright? You can't... I've been bad faith because he's been bad. Also, wait, no, I have not been bad faith. Fuck you, Chatter. Anyway, Asmongold is sitting there being like, oh, why can't protesters protest off the freeways? They're getting the shit beat out of them protesting off the freeways too. Like, what else do you want? Yeah, I'm gonna focus on people that matter. Bye. Well, thank you for the engagement. I appreciate that. Like, these people have not blocked any highways. They have not blocked anyone from getting anywhere. They have literally set up camps and are sitting around demanding that their universities divest from Israel and companies that are supporting Israel's ongoing genocide. And like, they're getting their shit pushed in. So if Asmongold makes 20 fucking videos talking about how absolutely atrocious this is, then sure, maybe, ooh, sorry, burped. Maybe I would believe that he's in any way good faith. But he's not going to. He's just going to keep talking about how mean people are to him. How he's canceled again. Like, because he only focuses on himself. He is a content creator who uses his platform to just try and boost himself. Which is like, cool, you do that, but then stay out of the actual, like, stay out of the way of the people who are actually doing stuff. Alright? Like, people who are trying to fix this country. You are making the entire conversation about you, and that is just not okay. Not bad faith. Asmon hates all protesters. Asmon doesn't care about other people. Yes, Levents, if you had listened to what I was saying, Asmon's entire argument seems to be that the protesters shouldn't be protesting on the roads, but he also never seemed to give a shit when they were protesting in the places where he says they should protest, because he got to ignore them there. They are in the roads because he is ignoring them when they're not in the roads. But Asmon won't give a shit about when they're not in the roads, like right here. Instead, he's just going to make like 20 more thousand videos about how people on Twitter tried to cancel him. It's so goddamn frustrating, dude. He is a Twitch streamer, like you said. Yeah, he's just doing this because he's trying to boost his own profile. He's actively encouraging a genocide, all for the lulz and to make his own profile higher up on the Twitch ratings. That's all that it is. Stay out of people trying to go to work to pay bills and not live on pavement. Yes, Asmon's whole point is, like, stop blocking freeways. But Asmon didn't seem to fucking give a shit. There was literally, one second. There were literally protests outside Nancy Pelosi's house. Good old Nancy's Pelosi's. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't think I would find it this quick. But yeah, here, alright? Look at this.
Francisco is tired of your shit.
Alright?
Bay Area demonstrators have delivered poop to Nancy Pelosi's house this morning, demanding she cut the crap and stop arming Israel. Good morning.
Like, Asmon doesn't care about this, because this is not convenient for Asmon to get mad at. This is like, he just wants people to shut the fuck up and sit down. That's his entire point. Stay out of the way of people trying to actually do stuff like work. Dog, these people are trying to actually do stuff, and they've already been fired for their work because they care about what they're trying to do. We are literally looking at a news article right now talking about a professor who got arrested because she gives so much of a shit about this cause. Like, what do you mean? Stay out of the way of people trying to actually do stuff. People are trying to do stuff. Oh, no, this guy has straight up said multiple times this is what Asmon believes. Who are you replying to? Yes, no, Keenan is ancient is right. Asmon, these are based, like, I am not doing some weird straw man of Asmon. This is just evidently what Asmon's actions are telling us about him. He doesn't give a shit about the peaceful protests. He only turns around and is like, oh no, you don't protest in a way that I don't like. He'll sit there and he'll make 20 million videos talking about how everything sucks, woke culture's ruining everything. He'll actively say that he doesn't like the way the world is going right now, and then he'll probably deny that he ever says that, but like, he'll say that, like, he doesn't feel good about about the way the world is going right now, and then he will criticize people trying to change it, all because it's in a way that he doesn't like. When he has no actual clue he is rage farming him. Dog, hey, I'm also rage farming Asmon. I hate to break it to you, but just because somebody doesn't, like, get passionate about stuff, that doesn't mean they're not rageful. You don't make a 20-minute video filled with nothing but bad faith arguments and 2 minutes of good faith, like, actual engagement with the ideas, and then turn around and say that somebody isn't angry at the other person, alright? That is anger. It's called cold anger. You might not be aware of it if you grew up in an emotionally stable household, but that is still anger. But why are you lying and making things up? I haven't made a single thing up. It's the way that nobody likes except the protesters. What? It's in a way that nobody likes except the protesters. Dog, once again, there's no evidence of that. At least give, like... this is such an annoying conversation. I guarantee most of you weren't even on the roads that day, alright? Like, everybody who's like, oh, this is so harmful. I literally have coworkers in Seattle who were on the roads that day, and do you know what every single one of them said? They said, oh, it was annoying, but, you know, I get it. Like, that's it. That's it. That's what most people are saying. This whole idea that, like, everybody's being alienated from the movement, it's not true. It's not true. It's your wish fulfillment because you just don't want to care. You're sitting there and you're saying, oh, why can't I just be apathetic? And then you're seeing something you don't like and you're going, oh, no, that's going to make other people just as apathetic about the bad things as I am. Like... I don't know who's talking to who in the chat. Alright. Anyway, moving on to the college protests. Yeah, no. These things are absolutely, like, I don't know if you guys have been watching the videos. But, like... Yeah, dude, my coworker, I can claim that because my face is on the screen. You don't even have a real profile picture. You have a Clint Eastwood profile picture. Like, what the fuck are you saying? You're not even a real person in this conversation. We're done. Anyway. Let's watch the police beat up white women.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Give me some cops! Oh my god! People are fascists!
Look at that measured police response. Yes, dude. No, I'm not gonna engage with you. Look at that measured police response. Exactly what we came to expect from Texas's best and bravest. You know, tasing someone on the ground handcuffed. You can look at this. This man has handcuffs on and he is tasing him. This is what American police are trained to do. Like, hey, yes, chatters, you are stuck on the fact that, like, if you want to have opinions, you have to put a face to your name, okay? Like, you are nothing but, like, a gray name bot. I'm sorry, that's your equivalent. Which makes all cops bad, right? The way we train cops in this country is bad. Yes. Like, it means that the way that cops are taught to operate is bad. Or, like, that is just objectively true. If you train people to use excessive force, if you tell them, oh, you can just beat the shit out of somebody as long as you perceive them to be resisting you, then yes, whoever is subjected to that training is bad. If you teach them to just mag dump on strangers, then yes, that person has become a dangerous, bad person.
This is insane. I just saw police use unnecessary violence for peaceful protesters. I saw police knock students to the ground.
I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do for you right now?
Can you call the philosophy department office and tell them I've been arrested?
This is also, by the way, Dog, if you think raging is like this objectively bad thing, I encourage you to please like go get in touch with your emotions. That's like the only thing I'm gonna say. Like, I'm sorry that you have been so neglected throughout your life that you seem to think that emotions are inherently bad and should be avoided, but that's not healthy, and that's what contributes to the like 1 in 6 statistic about men. Anyway, no. This shit right here, this video, this should be like the alarm bells to everyone in America. Alright? I'm not acknowledging you. This should be the alarm bells to everyone in America. This is literally what happened, like, in Nazi Germany. Where they went in and they were like, oh, these professors are brainwashing our kids and they're indoctrinating them into it wasn't cultural Marxism back then, no, it was cultural Bolshevism, which was very different. And they said that they were ruining the culture, they were brainwashing the kids, and then they turned around and they arrested hundreds of professors. The professors were right up there with the socialists as one of the first people arrested by the Nazis.